Hey everyone, it's Jennifer with Rooted in the Rock, and I've got something dropping from the travel branch right now. Hey everyone, welcome to Rooted in the Rock. I'm so glad you're here. Today I'm sharing with you my 7 top tips for planning a Disney trip. Okay, 7. So this is actually the second time I'm filming this. I filmed this a while back and I wasn't feeling well and it was just a mess and I ended up just scrapping it. And I've been having some microphone problems and we found out my firmware was very sadly out of date. So I'm hoping it fixes the problem because just a little while ago, I totally just filmed a whole 30-minute video on something else and it was crackling and popping. But I didn't know until after I'd gotten done and I got on my computer to edit and it was driving me crazy. And I was like, why is it doing that? So hopefully this firmware update fixes the whole thing. Fingers crossed. Okay, now, so I asked my younger daughter, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna scrap, I gotta film again. What do you want to hear? And of course, if you ask my kids, they want some kind of Disney video. So I'm going to go back to this that I had started before and redo it. So here's what was driving me nuts. I had 6 things for these tips. And I was like, I need a 7th. It needs to be 7. And it was driving me nuts, but I'm making it 7. Okay, I figured out one to make the 7th. So here we go. Number 1 is stay on property. Okay, if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, maybe save up to do it because it is so worth it. Okay, staying on property at Disney changes the whole thing. The first time I'd been a few times not on property, but the first time we took our kids, our first one, I was pregnant with the second one. We took our first one when she was 3. She was ready to go, and we had no money. My husband didn't make nearly as much as he does now. It was like we had tickets given to us. I'm seriously, we made no money. We had tickets given to us, and we had a friend who had a timeshare. We used my friend's timeshare, so we couldn't afford the $300 a night, so we used her timeshare and got a 2-bedroom apartment close to property, but it was a 2-bedroom apartment for the week, and it was like $400 for the whole week. It was amazing. And anyway, but here's the thing. So if you have to stay off property, I totally understand, totally get it. However, if you can save up for it, it makes such a huge difference. I mean, you wouldn't think so. And when you talk about it on a nutshell, it doesn't seem like that much advantage, but it made the hugest difference in our vacations. We saved up. The next time when we waited until our next daughter was 3 to take her to go again. And I was like, I want to stay on property. I want to try it just once. Because when we were there before, they were testing Magic Bands. This is way back. They were testing Magic Bands for property people, and it was just seeing all the advantages all the property people had. It was just kind of feels bad, man. But anyway, I was like, we really wanted to stay in the Cars suite, and we thought that was I love Cars, and so I was like, let's save up. We want to stay on property just this one time, just so we can experience it. And then of course after that, we did not want to not stay on property ever again. We've stayed on for all our trips since then. We've stayed on property just because the transportation and the benefits are it's so much better. You don't have to find your car at the end of the night. You don't have to walk another mile to your car at the end of the night. You go to the bus stop or the whatever. The Skyliner, we love the Skyliner. That is our 9-year-old. That is her favorite ride at Disney, basically, is going on the Skyliner. We love the Skyliner. and just the sounds of it. We've been trying staying at different resorts lately. We've tried to stay at a different one every time just to experience all of them and see the advantages and disadvantages of the different resorts. And the last few have not been, of course, on the Skyliner. And it's been so sad. We like walk by towards the buses at the end of the night. And we're like, bye, Skyliner. And you hear the ding, ding. And it's like, oh, sad. Anyway, but even taking the bus, even if you stay at a resort that is bus to all the parks and you don't have like the monorail or the Skyliner or a boat, or still is way better. And it's just, it's more fun. The theming is fun. The service is great. Yes, you can, and we've even we've tried staying at the Swan and Dolphin. We stayed at the Swan one night and it was really nice. It was great. So and there are good neighbor hotels that are a little less expensive, but not on property that still have some of the same benefits. So if you can stay on property, do it, just because it's awesome and you have more hidden Mickeys to find and great little touches in your room and the little Mickey shaped towel when you come in and your name on the TV screen when you come in. It just feels so special. And it's just great. I don't know if I'm doing it justice compared to last time I talked about this, but if you can stay on property, it just makes, and you get that early entry and sometimes the extended evening hours too, which you can't get otherwise, and can make a huge difference, especially if this is like a one-time trip and you're trying to maximize. You can definitely maximize if you're on property. Okay, enough about that. Number 2 is get the Disney app, okay? The My Disney, the Disney World. Oh, and here's the thing too. The apps are different for the different parks, as in park locations. Not like Animal Kingdom has an app and Epcot has an app. No, Disney World has an app. If you're going to Disneyland in California, they have their own app and reservation system. If you're going to Disneyland, not Disney, what's it called? It's not, I will keep wanting to say Euro Disney. They don't call it Euro Disney anymore. And it's Disneyland Paris. If you're going to Disneyland Paris, it has its own app and reservation system. And I think Tokyo and Shanghai and all the rest of them have I assume have their own, just like the others as well. I haven't been to those, sorry, I can't speak to those, but I think each Disney park location has its own app, but definitely get the app, okay? It'll tell you open times and ticket times, and that's where you can make reservations, change reservations. That's where you're going to do all your Genie Plus stuff. Even if you're not buying Genie Plus, you can still use the Genie part of the app in order to see wait times and suggestions and all the things like that. So it is super, super, super handy to have it when you get pictures. If you get any PhotoPass pictures or pictures that are taken on the rides, you can access all that stuff through there. If you have allergies like I do now, I have allergies I have to look out for. So if we're talking about going to eat somewhere and we haven't eaten there before and we don't know, I can look in the app and you can look at the menus for all of the restaurants directly in the app. And there's the mobile ordering that you can do at a bunch of the quick service restaurants. You can do mobile order, which is the way to go. It's because a lot of times certain ones will have a long line at high peak times. And if you can do your mobile order ahead of time, all you do is walk up and pick it up and you're good to go. You don't have to stand in another line, right? Get that done. And also there's the bigger stores have mobile checkout where you can, instead of standing in line at the register, you can check out on your phone and then you go check out with the person at the little stand to go out. You check out with them, but you've already done all the checking out. All they do is check and make sure you have all the things you're supposed to have and not anything else. And then off you go. So it's super handy. The app is like huge. Make sure you get the app. If you're going to be going, it's super handy. Even if you're not buying anything extra, it's free to download. And it's just the best information rather than waiting on a website to load on your phone. Just get the app. It's so much better. All right, number 3, decide which days at which park and make reservations. ahead of time. Okay. So if you are going and you say we're going these 3 days, or we're going for this week, or we're going these 2 days, or whatever it may be, okay, make your park reservations ahead of time. Now, so during the pandemic, that was really, really tricky. You had to get it done ahead of time. They booked up. There was a cap limit. Now, there still is some kind of limit. Who knows what it is? But there's still, it still gets tricky, especially around the holidays and the super busy times. So make sure you make your park reservations, decide which park you're going to on which day, and go ahead and just set those reservations in. Now, if you're park hopping, if you're going to start at one and then hop over to another, you don't have to reserve for the hop park, the park that you hop to. Okay. But that first park of the day, go ahead and make a reservation. That guarantees you'll get in. Okay. Even if they're not necessarily requiring it, I would, just in case. You never know. You never know. Just do it. And use, there is a crowd calendar that I use, that I typically use to help me decide. It's not the perfect. Okay. It gets kind of tricky because, you never know. Sometimes the park will close, certain parks will close early for private events or other things that are going on. So just keep an eye out for that when you're deciding which park to go to on which day. I typically use a crowd calendar. There's one for Orlando. I think there's probably one out there for every park there is, if you just use the Google machine and figure it out. But I use an Orlando crowd calendar. Generally, that's my starting point. That's my starting point for deciding which park to go to on which day. It depends on what's going on. Like I said, kind of grain of salt that one, like start with that, but definitely check a crowd calendar depending on what your situation is. Okay, all right. Number four, mark your calendar for dining reservations. Okay, don't forget, planning ahead. Mark your calendar, remind yourself when you need to make those dining rooms. 60 days before your date of check-in. If you're on property, it's before your date of check-in. If you're not staying on property, I think that'll be 60 days from the date of your first park pass reservation, okay? But mark your calendar. It's kind of one of those things where we've gone so much now, and the girls have watched so many Disney videos and things that you kind of forget and assume that everybody knows certain things, especially the big basic things, but they really don't. I mean, there are so many people in the world that have never been to Disney World, like so many. And I was dropping off a package one day, and I happened to be wearing one of my Epcot Disney shirts, and I was dropping off a package, and the guy that was checking my package he mentioned oh, I love your shirt, blah, blah, blah. And we kind of got talking about Disney. He's going soon. He's full grown adult. He's never gotten to go. He's never been. And he was so excited. It was going to be his first time. And I'm like, oh, make sure, mark your calendar, do your dining reservations. If there's certain, it's your first time and maybe the only time you'll ever go, right? So you want to make sure if there are certain things you really, really want to do, you got to make sure get those reservations, because otherwise you might not get in. So, because they get booked up really fast. And yes, it's possible to do last minutes and get reservations at the last minute, but you never know, which one might have an opening, or if they, you just don't know. It's really a gamble. So you want to make those ahead of time. So mark your calendar. I put it on my calendar because I will forget. Because a lot of times we book our vacations way ahead of time. And so a lot of times I'll forget. I actually put it on my calendar in my phone, so I remember to get up that day and make sure that I do the reservations, especially if there are particular places we are really, really, really wanting to go. And he was like, oh, I had no idea. Thank you so much. And he, marked it down. And I thought, we really got to have some big basic tips for people there are people who haven't gone, have never been able to go. And they just, if they don't go all the time, you're not going to know all these little things. So 60 days beforehand is when it unlocks in the app, and it'll tell you when you log in on the computer or in the app on your profile. When you're looking at your future plans, it'll tell you, if you go to make a dining reservation or whatever, it'll tell you what day you can make, what day it opens for you. Okay, so if you're not sure, you can always just check on there and it should tell you what day. But the rule is 60 days before. Okay, there are certain restaurants that they literally that day it'll book up. Like seriously, there are restaurants that I've never been able to. When we got into Space 220, like I've tried even ahead of time to get Space 220, never been able to get it. We ended up getting it the day of. It was, I was like, thank you, Jesus. Like he just blessed us and wanted us to get to go that day, I guess. Because like I've always, anytime I've ever looked, they've had no openings. And so we just happened to get it that day and it was amazing. So it can happen, but don't rely on it happening like that. If you rely on it, it ain't going to happen. Anyway, but there are certain ones that's really, really, really key. Okay. All right. That was number 4. So now we're at number 5. Get your occasion button. Don't forget to get your occasion button. If it is your first time ever, there's a special button you can get and it says first visit and it's so exciting. If you're celebrating a birthday, if you're celebrating an anniversary, really if you're celebrating anything, you can get a special occasion button. Now you used to get these at like the front gate when you do your tickets and check in or whatever, but now I believe lately they've been doing them at the shops. Like any of the big shops, the big main shops should have them. You can get them at your hotel when you check in. If you're staying on property, you can get them there. And sometimes they'll even ask you when you're checking in, are you celebrating anything? Because they want to make sure, because it adds just a little bit of extra magic to your trip. When they see that I've seen cast members, telling people happy birthday or happy anniversary or whatever the occasion may be. They try to make your trip more special. They pay attention and they look for those buttons. They're about, I don't know, about this big around. What is that? 3 inches? I don't know, or so. And if you wear it where it can be seen, cast members will notice it. Even like when the parade's going by, sometimes the parade people will interact with you because they see your button. Right? So if it's your first time ever visit, there's a first time one. There is a wedding one for if you've just gotten married. There is an anniversary one. And then they have ones that are blank too that say I'm celebrating. And then there's a blank area for you to write what you're celebrating. So maybe you're celebrating 10 years sober, or maybe you're celebrating lost 100 pounds, or maybe you're celebrating a different kind of anniversary or retirement or whatever it may be. You're celebrating lost my first tooth, whatever it may be, whatever you're celebrating, you can write that in. You can make these custom celebration buttons and it adds a little magic and it's just lovely. It's just a lovely thing. So make sure you do that. A lot of people don't know to do that, but make sure if you're celebrating something, make sure to get your celebration button. We went, it doesn't have to be like a birthday, like maybe you're celebrating something, maybe it's your birthday trip, but it's not on your birthday day. You can still wear it for your birthday trip, okay? One time we went recently and it was after my birthday. We weren't going for my birthday though. So my husband was like, you should get a birthday button. I'm like, yeah, but this isn't the birthday trip. And my birthday was like 3 days ago. So I'm not gonna, I don't want to do that. I didn't want to like get all the birthday yays when it wasn't really a birthday trip. So you might feel a little like that, like that for me, but you can smudge it a little. Like if your birthday was Sunday and you left for your trip on Wednesday, but it's your birthday trip, or the reason why you're going is because you're celebrating your birthday, do your birthday button. Do your birthday button. It'll be awesome. Okay, now number 6, use Genie Plus for full day, one-time shots. Full days or full-time one-time shots, but never for half a day unless it's the second half, okay? So Genie Plus is really, really great. If you're going like the guy I talked to at FedEx, if first time ever, maybe the only time he's ever if it's your first time, You don't know if you're not sure if you'll ever be back again. You want to maximize, you want to do all the things, right? You want to get all of your top list in, right? You don't want to be standing in line for most of the time. You want to actually get the things done, right? So if you're doing one of these one-time shots, or it's a big, or just a regular, you go kind of often, but it is a full day, use Genie Plus. It makes life so much easier. Like, honestly, when we went during COVID and there was no lightning lane, none of that stuff, it was the most amazing trip ever. I was like, I wish like I would pay extra for a ticket to have less crowd and no lightning lane interruptions. Like, we would totally. But no, in a perfect world. But no, they want to get as many people through as possible. So, rather than being on the bum end of the lightning lane situation, why not just do Genie Plus? And if like I said, if it's a one-time shot and it's going to be a full day, do Genie Plus. That way you can get into those things. You don't want to wait 90 minutes for Peter Pan. No. Some people would be really mad at me for saying that, but seriously, if you're going to be there one day and it's your only time, you don't know if you'll ever be back, why on earth would you wait 90 minutes for anything? Like, seriously, use the Genie Plus, get the lightning lane so you can get as many of those must-do things in as possible. We've done it. It's totally possible to legit ride everything in the park if you plan it right, okay? It is possible, and it's awesome. But anyway, use Genie Plus, but don't for half a day. If you're just like going in the morning and leaving at lunch, don't even bother with Genie Plus. Don't. That would be a total waste of money. Okay? Because if you make your first selection at 7 o'clock, the timer doesn't start until you get into the park, like at 9 or whenever the technical open time is. And if that fast pass you booked at 7, maybe your return time isn't till like 12 or 1 o'clock, you're not going to be able to book another one until 11, which means, and if you're leaving after lunch, like maybe you're leaving at 2 o'clock to hop somewhere else, you've only gotten 2 rides out of that Genie Plus buy. Now, if you get an earlier time and you can, bang, 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 but in the morning, that doesn't happen as much. That kind of happens more towards the evening when you can do that. So if you're doing half a day, I would say don't do Genie Plus. Now, if you're going for half a day, but you're only going in the evening, like maybe you're hopping over to that park from somewhere else, maybe you only have 3 days and you want to try to get all 4 parks in, so you're going to split, maybe go to Animal Kingdom the first half of the day, and then like Hollywood the second half of the day, you could get Genie Plus and just stack your lightning lanes for the evening for that park, and then get through a whole bunch, even though it's only half a day and you're only going to be there that one day. You could manage it that way. But other than that case, I would say don't ever use Genie Plus for only half a day. It's great for a full day, or especially if it's a one-time deal. Like, I'm only going to get to be here one day, or I might never come back, or whatever. Okay? So, Genie Plus. All right, number 7. Last one. I added this one because I like 7 better than 6. And that just bugged me. So, number 7 is plan ahead if you can. Okay? Tips for planning a Disney trip. Plan ahead. At least, I would say, at the very least, 2.5 months ahead of time. You want it to be over 2 months, because 2 months, that 60-day mark, is your dining reservation mark. So I'd say if you can, at the very least. Now, we have done last minute trips before. It is possible. But there are times when you try a last minute trip and there's no hotel availability. Now, here's a trick though too, is there was one time we were planning a last minute trip and it wasn't showing me any availability, but it was showing him availability. I was, why? But when you link tickets with your reservation, somehow there's more availability than if you're just booking the hotel. But if you're booking the hotel combined with tickets, a lot of times there's other availability because they have certain numbers of rooms slated for park use or whatever, because there are plenty of people that go down and stay there and don't go to the park, or they have annual passes and don't have to get tickets or whatever. So availability can be tricky. That's one reason why like stuff books up sometimes 6 months ahead of time. It depends. It depends. But I would say at least more than 2 months ahead of time, plan your trip so that you can make sure to make those reservations. And to make those dining reservations, you're going to want to know what park you're going to on what day, so you can decide, okay, we want to go to this restaurant or that restaurant, so you can pick your dining. Okay, so a lot of people don't like planning stuff like that ahead of time. That's fine if that's not your style, if that's not what you like to do, but it is super, super helpful if you plan it more ahead of time. There's more availability of all the things, okay? Last minute trips are possible, but planning ahead can really, really, really help make your trip, especially if this is one of those, this is the only time we're ever going, or it's someone's first time, things like that. That's when it is much, much more important to make sure you plan it ahead. If you've been 5 times and you just feel like going, maybe it can be a last minute off the cuff, whatever. But if this is really like a really special trip, do the planning ahead. I know a lot of people don't like to do it, but and it can make your trip a lot less stressful, because you're not, oh, we don't have a dining reservation that day, or oh, we don't, if you've done it ahead of time, you can just go and be excited about going and being in the magic. Okay, plan ahead if you can. All right, so there it is. Recap: number 1, stay on property if you can. Number 2, get the Disney app. That maybe should be number 1. Number 1 tip: get the Disney app. Okay. Number 2, decide which parks you're going to on which day. Okay. Number 4, mark your calendar. Remind yourself. Make your dining reservations ahead of time if you care about that. Okay. Number 5, get an occasion button, because it's fun. And number 6, use Genie for a full day. Definitely half day. Don't waste your money. But if you're doing a full day, it's huge. It's massive. It makes the biggest difference. Okay. Plus, you get to do the ding ding, lightning ling bing in. I love it so much. I love that sound. It makes me happy. And number 7, plan ahead. I probably should have ordered those better, but whatever. Plan ahead if you can. It really, really helps. I hope these were helpful. If this video was helpful, if you liked it, enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to catch the future content. There will be much, much more. We've only gotten started. And have a great week. Work. When I started filming, it was light out. Oh, get her done. So excited. I'm ready to go. I'm so ready to go again. No, stay up so I can read you. What is the word? Don't do that. Start over. I keep wanting to say the same word. Not registration, reservation. It's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. Everything's fine. All fine. Okay, that's it.